Hey, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. This is Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my co-anchor and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Excited to be here. This is our first case of the week.
Yes, it is.
Doo.
And also the last week of April.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe we're already 4 months into the year?
Flown by.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has. I know. In fact, I'm really trying to screw myself good on some deadlines and things I have because because I just can't believe that it's the last week of this month. How could it possibly be?
I don't know, but it has gone quickly.
Yeah, it has. It has. Time to get organized.
Right.
So you went camping over the weekend?
Oh, we did. We had so much fun. I'm tired. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
Any travel just makes me tired. And I come
Mm-hmm.
home and I'm so glad I'm home, but then I'm like, oh, I just need a night in my own bed,
Yeah, for
But we
sure.
had a great time. It was really fun until we woke up this morning and it was freezing rain and we went, yeah, we're going home.
Here's your side. Go
Yeah,
home.
that was enough. That was enough, but we had a good time. It was so nice just to be outside and be able to have time outside, We just haven't had that for a while lately, so it was nice.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm good too. We came up last night and sat around the campfire and brought pizza. That's how organized we are. There was no roasting a hot dog or anything. We picked up Pizza Hut. But anyway, that's whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was great. Today we took a drive up into Grand Teton National Park to get a few more senior pictures of the senior.
Nice.
We didn't have anything yet in her cap and gown, and unfortunately, she really wanted some pictures with the Teton Mountains in the background, but it was so rainy and misty up there that you couldn't. We were like at the mountains, and you couldn't see the mountains.
You couldn't see them. Oh, darn it!
She didn't get quite what she wanted, unfortunately, but frankly, this kid could literally stop traffic in a gunny sack, so it's just fine.
It is.
Yeah, so we're working on her graduation announcements and all that exciting stuff. And senior night for softball is on Friday night. And so we're working really hard on having all of the stuff done for that too. There's, gifts and decorating and excitement and stuff. So yeah, a big week. I can finally now talk about senior night without tears, which I couldn't do 2 days ago. So, I'm amping up.
That's good. That's good. Progress.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. But we're excited to be here to present our first case. So this case is a cold read I'm going to present to Kristi. This case was a suggestion from a listener, so thank you so much. And they used the form, and you can find the form by going over to truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com and scroll through there, and you'll find a spot where you can suggest a case. That's a good spot to do it because then it goes on a master list where we can keep track of them. You guys are awesome to suggest cases, but sometimes they get thrown, in comments, questions, in various social media and stuff. And we try to get them all on our master list, but it doesn't always happen. So anyway, that's the best way to do it.
That is true.
Those of you on the East Coast will be more familiar with this case, I think. But this is the case of Cherrie Ann Mahan. So Cherrie Ann Mahan, this is such a perplexing case. She vanished on the 22nd of February, 1985 from Cabot, Pennsylvania. She was born on August 14th, 1976.
Oh, wow, so just a year older than me. Or younger than me, I mean.
Right in between you and I.
How old am I? When was I born? Right, yeah, just between you and I.
Right, between you and I, which is actually so weird because our case last week was too.
Yes, it was. There were some similarities last week that kind of freaked me out. It was weird. So yeah, here we are at it again.
She was missing. The girl we did last week went missing at 9. This little girl went missing at age 8.
Okay.
She was wearing a white leotard, a gray coat, a blue denim skirt, white stockings, blue leg warmers, as you did back in 1985.
As you did. I recall about
Mhm.
that age, you had a leotard you absolutely refused to take off.
Yeah. We also both had denim skirts. That was the look, man.
Mhm. Yes, it was.
Beige ankle boots and brown Cabbage Patch earmuffs. This one got me. She
Oh,
loved Cabbage Patch Kids, and in fact had
yeah.
just gotten her first Cabbage Patch for Christmas from her grandma.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Yeah. She was carrying a blue backpack with 2 straps and a cream-colored top and decorated with a blue and red heart. So that's what she had with her.
Wow.
Um,
Very specific details.
well, yeah, and you'll learn why. Caucasian female. She had brown hair, hazel eyes. Cherry had a dog bite scar on her left arm.
Mm,
Her left arm had also previously been broken above the shoulder. It was healed, but she had previously had a broken arm. She had a
okay.
cowlick on the right side of her hair. And in the photograph that we're showing, her hair was just a little bit longer, but not a lot. And her
Okay.
ears were pierced at the time. So she got off the school bus. She was on the bus. It was a Friday. She had had a great day at school. She was a darling little girl, a darling little learner. She loved school. She told
Mhm.
everybody she wanted to be an elementary school teacher. Her favorite subject was spelling, and she loved art. She was just a little doll. Her family had just moved there about 7 months prior. It was her mom and her stepdad. Mom got pregnant with her as the result of a rape when she was 16.
Oh gosh.
And she knew the man that had raped her, and she had gone to the police, and they refused to believe her.
Mm,
But she had told him in the past about this child, and he absolutely refused to acknowledge that she was his. So there was kind of a weird thing there with this shitty guy that lived in another town. And
mhm.
he said that at one point he ran into them at a party that they both met, happened to attend. And she was there with this little girl who she claims is his, but he
Mhm.
swears she is not. She never tried to get child support or put him on the birth certificate or anything like that, but that was her beginning. And so
Wow.
she and
Oof.
mama kind of raised each other, and
Mhm.
lived with grandma and grandpa until grandpa died. And then mom got married. And stepdad was an angel. He loved her. She was his whole world. It was just, they were a package deal, a sweet little
Mhm.
family. So, that's a little background into her and to her
Okay.
mom. So, when she got off the bus that day, the bus stop stopped about 50 yards from her driveway. But the driveway was up a steep little hill and kind of had a little twist, so you couldn't actually see her house from the driveway, but it
Okay.
wasn't far, it was just a little jog.
Mhm.
There was another mom who stopped, waited at the bus to pick her kids up when they got off, and she saw Cherry and waved at her, and Cherry waved at her, and the bus took off. Mama watched, the other mom watched her to make sure she, had cleared her car, and then she left too. Well, in the house, up the little jog of a driveway, were mom and stepdad. They were home. And normally, mom always picked her up at the bottom and drove her up because she was just getting off work and just waited for her. But she didn't have to work this day. So she'd been to town to
Okay.
shop because she got a Care Bear for Christmas and their dog chewed its face off. And so mom felt really bad about it and went and replaced her Care Bear and was gonna surprise her with, a Care
Oh,
Bear that didn't have its face chewed off when she
right.
got home from school. And they heard the school bus pull up, the school bus with their air brakes and stuff, you hear that.
Right, and
So
that door and everything. Yeah, makes a
yeah,
lot of
and
noise.
they said they could also hear kids, voices, like, they heard her get off the bus per
Mhm.
normal. And stepdad actually grabbed his keys and said, "I'll run down and grab her." And mom said, "Oh, don't. It's a sunny, nice day. She can walk up." It had been really
Mhm.
cold, but this was the end of February. It was finally starting to get warmer. So she said, "Don't worry about it. She can just walk up. It's good for her."
Mhm.
Well, she didn't come. And after like 5 minutes, they were like, "That's weird." And they looked outside and they couldn't hear anything. So
Mhm.
stepdad heads down the hill of the driveway to thinking he'll just run into her about halfway down, but he doesn't. So he
Mm.
gets clear to the bottom and there's no one in the road.
Mhm.
And so he yells to mom and they start, searching the neighborhood. and she's just gone. I mean, at first they didn't think, oh my God, something happened. They thought maybe she went into a neighbor's house or went with another friend,
Mhm.
knocked on every single door. Within a couple of hours, literally 300 people were combing their neighborhood in that area.
Mm.
The police and the search and rescue were there. They had bloodhounds. They had a helicopter. Like they were seriously combing that area for this child because
Mhm.
she just
Mm.
vanished. I mean, in the matter of a couple of minutes from the time one adult saw her to the next didn't. I mean, there was no time whatsoever.
Mhm.
So they looked 4 days. And finally, this was on a Friday. Finally, by Monday, the sheriff said, she's obviously not here. We have
Right.
searched every square inch of this over and over. She's not here.
Yeah.
And so they expanded their search. They started having conversations with all of the kids on the bus. And this theme emerged between them and the mom who had picked her kids up. Everybody saw this blue or green van. Most people said blue, but some people said green, that had a skiing scene, like a mountain with a skier uh,
Mhm.
painted on the side of it.
Mhm.
That van was sitting in the neighborhood, and it wasn't there when stepdad came down the hill. It was gone. And
Mhm.
so they start thinking, okay, no one had ever seen that van in the neighborhood before. Nobody was familiar with this at all. So they start thinking, well, maybe that is because at this point they're thinking she was abducted. You know,
Right.
there's just not much of another scenario that makes any sense. So, and they have throughout the neighborhood, family, extended family, teachers, classmates, they questioned like over 300 people in the first few weeks. I mean, they
Mm.
talked to everyone imaginable,
Mhm.
trying to figure out what in the hell because they have nothing to go on. So
Right.
the van becomes their focus, and they start looking around the, looking for that van. And pretty soon they start, when they put out to the media, the information about the van, they get hundreds of calls. Turns out, up in that area, a little closer to the ski hills, there's a lot of vans that look kind of like that.
I remember that sort of design. I think that we, living in Idaho, saw vans that looked like that in the '80s.
Hmm.
It
It
was
was
a
kind of
thing
a
to
thing.
have, like, a big scene on your van back
Yep.
then,
Yep.
and I remember this skier-looking thing. I don't think that was that uncommon.
Yeah.
And where we live, there's a lot of skiing, so it makes sense to me that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
wow.
So there was also talk that maybe they'd seen a little blue car in the area. So they didn't know for sure, but that was all they had to go on. So they really, really hounded on the van aspect. And
Mhm.
they did find people with vans. They did question them. They did clear them. One lady in
Mhm.
particular had a green van that had a similar scene on it that was absolutely harassed for a long time.
Oh,
Everywhere
wow.
she went, people were writing down her license plate number and or following her and I mean the community, I mean, God bless them. I mean, they were all over this. They were determined to get Cherrie found.
Mhm.
Another lady put together a fundraiser and really organized the community. And eventually they put together $58,000 in,
Oh, wow.
uh, reward money for,
Mhm.
leads to bring her home. They really tried. I mean, the community rallied around her parents like nobody's business
Sure.
and really tried hard. So, but there was nothing. Like I said, they had so many different leads and they followed them for a few years
Mhm.
constantly and nothing was working. So they ended up sending out a mailer. So this was about the time that they started like putting kids on milk cartons and sending
Right.
out missing children's or missing persons mailers. So she
Mhm.
got put on a mailer that they sent out, and hundreds of leads came in, thousands of leads came in from all over the country. And they did their best to follow up on as many of them as they could, but nothing bore any fruit at all.
Right, and
There were
I mean,
Yeah,
she looks a lot like we did at that age, like,
yeah,
you wouldn't necessarily know for sure, some little
yeah,
white girl with brown hair. I mean, I think
mhm,
hard to differentiate, really.
yeah, yep. Well, and I mean, they had people like, from the West Coast calling saying they swear they saw that van,
Oh,
which they
yeah, I
saw
mean
a van, not that van.
right, they saw a van just like I've seen a van that looks like that
Mhm.
before. It doesn't mean it's the one.
Right, for sure. So, they did take a really hard look at her parents. I mean, they interviewed them quite a few separate times, separately, and there was just never anything that would indicate that they weren't just telling the truth. So
No.
they asked them if they would take polygraphs. They did willingly, and they were just determined to be not involved at all.
Yeah, they weren't, they
So
just weren't.
Mhm. So then they also took a hard look at the supposed, father, the the rapist,
Mhm.
and he also completely denied any kind of involvement. And they really did a very thorough search of him and his life and his whereabouts, and they determined that he also was not involved.
He didn't
So,
want any involvement because
mm-mm,
this was proof of a sexual assault. He didn't
yeah,
want
yeah,
anything to do with this situation at all. I don't feel like he
hmm
had any interest in her or in,
hmm
connecting himself to her at all.
a lot of locals tried really hard to create the connection. They wanted that to be the answer, but
Right.
it just didn't seem to be.
Well,
And
often
some
it
people
is
still
sort of
really blame him and think he had something to do with it. But
right, and it's kind of the easy answer that it's one of the parents, and of course,
Mhm.
they always look at that first because, quite frequently it
It
is,
often is.
but
Yeah.
not always.
Yeah.
No,
No.
this was a stranger grab.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
just a stranger grab that, throwing a kid in a van was a common thing in the '80s, unfortunately. That
Yeah. Isn't that
that
weird?
became the way to
Mhm.
assault children, and this was a stranger.
Yeah. So mom, after 6 months, needed to go back to work. She worked in housekeeping at a senior citizen center, or I don't know, a nursing home.
Mhm.
And she was so scared to leave the house. She was so scared that
Oh,
Cherry
yeah.
would call. And so
Yeah.
she got an answering machine, and the answering machine message said, "Hi, Sherry, we love you." Or Cherry. I want to call her Sherry really bad. "Hi, Cherry, we love
I think
you."
it's cherry.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I listened to an interview with mom to be sure,
Oh.
because it looks like it could be Sherry,
Mhm.
but it
Doesn't sound
is
like me
Cherry.
either.
So mom leaves this message on her answering machine to say, we love you and we miss you, and here's what to do. You call the operator and ask her to give you to the Center for Missing Children, and they're going to save you, and we'll see you
Mhm.
soon. That's what her voicemail
Oh,
said for years. Isn't that
gosh,
sad?
that's so sad.
Yeah. So, and mom struggled a lot. She started doing drugs a little bit, drinking, just really trying to deal with herself. At one point, she said she tried to throw herself out of a moving pickup, and her
Yeah.
husband got a hold of her and, held her in. And then
Mhm.
eventually they had a little boy. And 5 years-ish after she was missing, the government did declare her legally dead. There was some money that came to her because of the car accident she'd been in where she broke her arm, and
Oh.
mom had been holding on to it all this time, wanting to put it into, like a fund for her, a trust
Mhm.
for her, but she couldn't do anything with it, and so
Mhm.
that was one reason. It was $3,500, and
Mhm.
so that she could do something with that, and she did eventually donate that $58,000 to the
Mhm.
Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, she said she didn't wanna benefit from this in any way. Over the years, mailers have gone out several times with this darling girl's face on them, and with, projected, pictures of what she would look like now.
Yeah.
there was actually a missing person, someone who was adopted and didn't know what their roots were, and kind of adopted under weird circumstances back in the mid 2000s, like 2015 ish.
Mhm.
And she actually thought maybe she was Cherrie. And she got in contact with Cherrie's mom, and they had a DNA test, and she was not.
Yeah, no.
There
The thing
was a
is,
few
Cherrie was
times,
old enough that had something like that happen, she would have remembered. She would
right?
have remembered
Yeah,
who she was.
yeah, for
But
sure.
no, she died the day she was taken.
Yeah. Well, another thing happened. Let's see, and this was also just here in the last like 5 years. Someone called mom at work and told her that she is Cherrie. And it was a cruel joke. It turned out to be just a cruel joke.
What the hell is the matter with people?
Yeah, that's not a joke, for Christ's
That
sake.
is not a joke. Oh my god.
Mom's name is Janice McKinney, by the way. I don't think I ever said her name.
Mm,
But Janice received a letter in 2018 from someone who described in great detail, horrific detail, how they kidnapped Cherrie, how they murdered her, and where she was buried, and said that they hoped that this letter and finding her body would help bring her some kind of peace.
mm,
So she turned it over to the police. They investigated it. They investigated the area where they said that her body was buried. They didn't come up with anything. It doesn't mean she's not there. They went out with cadaver dogs, and that's really hard because
this long
cadaver
ago.
dogs,
Yeah,
that long ago, cadaver dogs may or may not actually be able to smell anything. It's possible she's still in that area and that that letter was legit. They aren't
probably need,
sure.
like, ground penetrating radar to find her at this point, I would imagine.
Mhm. Well, and those little bones, depending on the kind of acidity in the soil and how she was buried, and
Right.
there really just might not be much left.
Mhm.
But at any rate, so that happened as well, though they have no idea where that letter came from. But again, she actually got punked once before. They just aren't sure. The police in Cabot say that they still get leads every once in a while on this case. So people
Mm,
are still watching. I mean, there have been lots of times where somebody was just certain that they saw a girl that was her, and they
mm,
have followed up, and it is not. Uh,
mm,
so it's not one of those cases where that wasn't investigated or that the police didn't care about or try about. They cared a lot, and they've tried really hard. And her
mhm.
mom has tried really hard to keep her memory alive and to, you know, continue on the path. But
Yeah.
there's just very little. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Kristi, I'm going to ask you to just, fully read the case for us, and I'll probably ask you a few questions as well. So this is True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters, and we'll be back shortly.
Hi, I'm Kristi Brower, podcaster and professional psychic. I have spent the last 14 years honing my skills as a psychic and a healer. I work on the Purple Ocean app. You can find it in any of the app stores. And I am available every day for video and chat readings. I specialize in pattern breaking, particularly in relationships, but really in any area of your life. If you're feeling stuck and like you can't move on or you can't let something go, I am the reader for you. That is exactly what I focus on. It's what I love to do. I love to help stuck people get moving, and I've been doing it for many years and have been very successful at it and can do that for you as well. So if you are having trouble letting go of a relationship or a fear or a challenge of any kind in your life, come see me at Purple Ocean and we will do everything we can, me and my guidance system and my intuition and you, because it's always a package deal that we work together, but we will find a way to break that pattern for you. So come see me over at Purple Ocean and let's break your patterns.
All righty, and we are back. This is True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. This is Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my co-anchor and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. So, Kristi, we've just laid out the missing case, the case of missing Cherrie Ann Mahan, and I would like for you to give us your reading on what happened here and Who do you think did this to this little thing? So
Yeah.
it's a terrible case. Yeah.
It it is a terrible case, and it's a very typical 80s case. This was a stranger grab. Absolutely, the van that was, seen in the community is the van driven by the perpetrator. I feel like the man asked Cherrie to help him with directions. I feel like it was very, innocuous. This was kind of about the time that stranger danger started, but maybe not quite yet. And, I feel like that he asked her, what seemed like an innocent question that brought her near. He grabbed her, threw her in the van, and took off. I do feel he drove a significant, I'm hearing 50 miles away before he did anything.
Hmm.
Um, I do feel that he assaulted her and killed her that same day, that he did not keep her, and that none of the all of the tips about seeing her various places and things, none of that is true, that this was legitimately, um, a stranger abduction. He was about 23, and he had red hair and green eyes. This was the first time he'd ever done this. It was not the last time he'd ever done this. I feel like he abducted other children, not using the same vehicle and not in the same community. I felt like, as I was tuning into him, that he was smart enough to know not to do that, because this is pre-internet, guys. This was,
Hmm.
all you had to do was just go from one town to the next, and no one would have any clue and not connect the cases at all. I believe that he did this 3 times and that she was his first. He did bury her body, and I do feel that the letter that was sent to her mother was real, but the location of her body was not real. Um, he is fairly tortured about what he's done. He had, obviously some very terrible predilections, but he does have some guilt at this point in his life, and I do feel that that letter was real.
Hmm.
But I feel that he was trying to get it off from his chest by reporting to mom,
Hmm.
but I also feel like he skewed the, information just enough to protect himself. That's what I feel like happened.
Okay.
I feel like, at least fortunately, she wasn't held and tortured or, assaulted multiple times or anything like that, that it was quite quick, that he strangled her and buried her.
Hmm.
And it just happened so quickly, just in between the bus driving away, the neighbor mom driving away. He asks her a question, pulls her in the van, drives off. Boom, it's over in seconds.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
the very reason why we as kids were always told to not get anywhere near anybody with a van. You
Right.
know,
Yep.
remember stranger
Yep.
danger, and don't
Hmm.
get anywhere near anybody with a van. This is like the pinnacle case for why
Yeah.
that is. This one and others that happened at that time, but there was a real, I don't know if it was an uptick, I don't know, something to do with pedophiles and vans there in the '80s, and she was
Really turned into
definitely.
a thing. I mean, you
It
still
did.
refer to that as a rapist van or, I mean,
Right,
I've heard that my whole life, even though they're probably not, but
right, yeah. Well, a lot of times they're the panel vans that don't have windows. This one
yeah.
did, but I feel like she was little and she
Hmm.
was easy to overpower. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's what I feel. I do feel the van was blue
Hmm.
with the decal on it. I know
Yeah.
people thought it was either blue or green. I feel it was blue.
Hmm.
And he was a young man. He was quite thin and wiry. He had red hair and green eyes.
Um, so the police or the FBI eventually put together a profile of who they thought could have been the kidnapper. They believed that it must have been someone she knew because she was so, it seemed that she was willing to climb in someone's car. But
Yeah.
that was a really hard thing for her mom to hear,
Mhm.
to think that someone they knew could have actually done this to her. But I really
No.
resonate with what you're saying, that it was she was a sweetie, and
Mhm.
and was definitely willing to help someone if they asked her a question,
And
and was very friendly.
he's just standing in the doorway of that van and says, "Hey, come here. Can you tell me how to get to blah blah blah?" And she just walks over to tell him, and he grabs. I mean, she's little.
Yeah.
He just overpowers her, closes the door of the van. There's nothing she can do.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just
that's
that
that's
easy.
that's all it was. It was that fast. But no, this was not
Mhm.
someone that they knew. It was not someone that she knew.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
she was not targeted specifically. This was just he
Yes.
was kinda waiting around at school bus drop-off time
Mhm.
looking for an opportunity and found one.
Yeah. Yeah. Classmates later on had told their teacher that her teacher that year was a woman named Jackie Pfeiffer.
Are you serious?
It's
That's
really
our
weird to
aunt's
me.
name.
Yeah.
That's weird. Kind of.
And well,
Well, it's 2
it
aunts.
yeah, well, it's our grandpa's name essentially, but
Yeah.
anyway, it's just a really weird
Mhm.
coincidence. When
Yes,
I
it
read that,
is.
I was like, "Well, that's weird," but anyway, she was a gem of a teacher, and one thing she did with the kids is that they'd have circle time where they'd put their desks in a circle,
Mhm.
and they would talk about what was bothering them,
Mm.
and she did that long before, Cherry disappeared, but after she disappeared, it was really hard in their classroom. It was hard on her, and it was hard on the other kids,
Oh, I'll
and for the
bet.
whole rest of the school year, whenever she'd pass out papers, she'd put the paper also on Cherry's desk, and she would always
Mhm.
tell the kids, we're saving up her homework, so it's all ready for her schoolwork, or I'll be here when she comes back," and
Mhm.
that seemed to help. But when they would have circle time, a lot of the kids expressed a lot of guilt.
Right. Oh, I'll bet.
A lot of guilt that had they, told the bus driver about the creepy van, maybe there something would have been different. Now this one gets me, and this is a very different way, this this and other cases have changed the way we drop kids off, at the school bus or at the school
Right.
drop, but, that she lots of kids said, or some kids had said, that they felt like had they waited and told the bus driver about the creepy van, maybe the bus driver would have waited for Cherry to walk up her driveway before he drove away.
Oh.
I mean,
Well, and you know how kids at that
yeah,
age are. They don't really have a concept of that they are not in control of everything,
right, right,
you
but
know?
also the driver just dropped her off and drove away.
Right, and that does not happen now, for
Not at least not
sure.
where we live. They'll hold up
No.
traffic as long as they need to, and we're fine with it, right?
Yeah,
To see kids get
absolutely.
safely into their yards. But truly, I mean,
Mhm.
she was 50 yards from her driveway. It's not like she was
Wow.
walking a long ways,
Right, and so the
you
driver didn't
know?
have any expectation that something bad could happen,
Yeah,
but unfortunately, these kinds of kidnappings happen in seconds.
yeah, yeah. It was no one's fault except for the
No.
person who did it. Of
Right,
course, the poor parents had an enormous amount of guilt because they were right there. They were right
right,
freaking there, and dad was gonna head down and get her, and mom told him not to, and so, of
right.
course, she felt horrible, and he felt horrible, and, like, it's destroyed their lives, of course, but,
Yeah.
lots of people in the community have felt the mom who saw the van and picked her own kids up, I'm sure has kicked
Oh,
herself a
yeah.
million times that she didn't just drive her up the hill herself
Yeah,
or watch her to walk up the hill before she drove away, but no,
yeah.
how could you have known? So,
You couldn't have.
anyway, yeah. No, no, you couldn't have, but
Couldn't have possibly known. Nobody could, but nobody wants to think that things like this can happen and happen so quickly and that we can't always protect our children. I mean, that's just but cases like Cherry's are the very reason
yeah,
why we've, come to find that that's actually, not the case. We aren't in control all the time.
yeah. Well, in this little town of Cabot, it was very safe. They had not had tons of crime and stuff, and so they did feel fine about their kids having that much autonomy. Really
Sure.
not so different than lots of small town USA even now.
No. Hell, we used to walk to school when we were in elementary school,
Sure.
and it wasn't just around the corner. I mean, it was several blocks away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we walked to and from.
Mhm. Yeah. So that is the case. So, well,
Wow.
thank you for taking a look at that, and thank
Sure.
you to the listener that suggested this case as well. It always all of these unsolved cases deserve the signal boost, and their
Yeah,
families deserve the signal boost because they will
definitely.
spend the rest of their lives looking and wondering about where their family members have gone. Her
Yeah,
mom has been an absolute warrior.
that's good. At
Yeah.
least you can channel that into something, you know? I
Yes.
would think if as a parent in this situation, you'd have to be able to channel your energy from an experience like this into something positive to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep. Well, and her case and some of the others in the 80s really helped to develop uh, the Center for Missing and Exploited Children and,
Yeah,
all of the other things, the flyers, the mailers, the milk cartons, all the stuff, that has come since to help, keep these kids' memories alive and keep
right,
people looking and keep people aware of the risks and dangers of kidnappings like this because,
right?
again, pretty complacent, and no one expected something like this to happen. So,
Yeah, for sure.
all righty. Well, this is our first case this week. So watch tomorrow for our group case. Ooh, have we got a group case this week? Holy hell.
Yikes, don't we?
Yep. And then our MMIW case will be on Wednesday this week. Wednesday night, of course, there will be live case updates. And ooh, Mark Means is cooking a pot full of bullshit, you guys. And so
Oh, man, we have definitely got some Daybell Vallow, tea to spill, don't we?
yeah, there's some updates in the Ghislaine Maxwell case.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's something else too. We've got quite a few case updates to bring to you this week.
We
So,
do, yeah, there's and who knows? There
yeah,
could be more
watch
by
for
then.
that. Well, but also I believe that Vallows are back in court on the 28th.
Yes.
There's an emergency hearing because of what's happening. It's a new
Yeah.
update. So watch. We've got some thoughts on it, some things we have been working on with it. So anyway, that's what's
We'll share
happening. And
that.
then of course Thursday night at 7 o'clock, the psychic hour with the psychic sisters. That's at 7 p.m. Mountain. So
Yeah. Well,
lots of
and
stuff to come.
JFK.
Oh yeah. Yes, if you're a patron, go look at Patreon because we have released a Patreon special that is a look at some of the more widely known and some of the less widely known conspiracies around the murder of JFK, the assassination of JFK,
Yep,
and our read on what we believe actually happened. So
yep,
lots of you guys have asked for that case, so it's in Patreon. And
yep,
if you are not in Patreon but you'd like to join, we do put out 2 extra cases a month over there for you guys.
yep,
And you can find that, or episodes, I should say. You can find that if you go to truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com and you'll find a button there to head straight over to Patreon.
yep.
So that's how
Absolutely.
to do
Check
it.
it out. There's
Yeah.
so much good content over there. Frequently, you guys ask us for a case. I'll tell you one that's over there that people ask for us all the time. Ask us for all the time, and that's Brian Schaefer. If you've been wondering about the Brian
Yeah.
Schaefer case, we did it for Patreon like a
Mhm.
year ago.
Yeah, we did.
So, it's not very doesn't cost very much to go over there and check out all of the stuff we have already done in the last year and lots of cases
Mhm.
that you might be interested in. We are done and over there. So go check it out.
Well, yeah, there's got to be 26 cases over there now, I think, something
At
like
least
that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you just go to patreon.com and search True Crime Paranormal, you will find us there.
Yep. Yeah. Very good. All righty. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, this has been True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Take care.
Bye, guys.